Hello everybody, welcome to the Comics Gate Art Stream. My name is Brian. How are you guys doing? Oh boy, what a day. Some good news though. I got back from my doctor and I am doing really well in terms of the cancer stuff. He says that it's looking really good, and so far nothing has reemerged. So, you know, that's good news, I guess. So yeah, there's that, and I think that there's a pretty good chance that I'm gonna be cancer-free for the foreseeable future. So, I thought that was worth sharing. Zoom out here, and yeah, it's pretty cool. So and another piece of good news is that I had a long talk with Micah on Friday. We have like a weekly meeting, and you know, we have like a solid direction. I think we're all on the same page now in terms of you know, where we want this Englewood, Saint of Englewood design to go, and I'm pretty happy with it. I think that, you know, it's a small thing to successfully pull off communication, it would seem, but no, it actually is it's a big deal, you know. It's a big deal when you like are working with someone and you're not quite on the same page. It can create real frustrations. I think human beings, because we have language, it's like our primary method of communication. So if that doesn't work out, people get frustrated, and because they don't feel like, you know, people are listening, and it's really good when it works out. So I think we are all on the same page now, for sure, and that's good. It's a good thing to me. Thanks for the supportive words in regards to the cancer. I do have other concerns with that, because my Medicare was cut off, and so I got to pay the rest of this out of pocket, and I'm not sure how I'm gonna do it. I'm honestly not sure how I'm gonna do it. So I don't know, man, because there was a fundraiser, but we still have a ways to go to pay off the rest of the bills. Most of that fundraiser was for my sick leave, because I wasn't able to work, and and I was the only person making money at that time. I mean, my wife has a job now, but it's like it's kind of like a part-time thing. I don't know. So yeah, those are other concerns, but I can't, if I stop to think about that stuff, I think I'm going to be really overwhelmed. So I just need to focus on finishing Englewood and finishing the conference. I think that's going to be those are my goals. Finish Englewood #1 and finish the ICMI. You know? And then we'll worry about the other stuff later. And I mean, I'm not trying to be what's the word I'm looking for? A procrastinator. But there's really, like, literally nothing I can do right now. So I just gotta move forward and then, like, deal with that later. I don't know what else to say. That's okay. You know, this is going well. And ICMI is like right around the corner. It's like less than 2 weeks. No, it's a little over 2 weeks now. That's crazy. Focus on the things you can change. Don't worry about the things you can't. Exactly. It was just all this unexpected shit that happened, like the dentist, and then JoJo had worms, and I had to deal with the worms. You know, those little things, they kind of like come out of nowhere and they add up. So, all right. So we agreed that we're going to change the armor, and I'm happy about that. I think that this is going to look a lot better. That doesn't look good. Here. How do I want this to work? Like that. You can defeat cancer, you stand against feminism all the time. Looks like we're going to be doing a fundraising stream today. We're going to be looking at this epic Twitter battle that Karen and Christy Winters have been having for like the past 2 weeks. It's like a fucking epic poem. It's crazy. It's like Beowulf versus the Grendel, except the Grendel is Christy Winters. The Grendel has a PhD. And so that should be fun. I'm sure Karen will have no shortage of rants for that. Are you going to keep that Christian cross on the armor? Isn't that a symbol of oppression or something? I'm not. This cross is gonna stay, this one right here, but the one that was like I was trying to like subtly imply in the armor is gonna go. But that's okay. That's okay. You don't want to like over motif anything anyway, so. These are just plates. He's wearing armor. Go, oh god, oh good, something like that. Something that isn't soul crushing. Not more of knowing better. Nah, there's nothing left to say. Knowing better keeps going, and then he accuses, you know, Warren Farrell of being a pedophile without actually committing to the accusation, and instead doing this like implication thing. It's like coward shit. I hate that shit. You know? There we go. Hello, John. Actually, I'm not going to draw that. This. I have this thing that I do that I want to like try to get better about. It's the IC. Yeah, another thing is, let's get rid of this. I'm, the cross on the mask. And something else that I figured out is that, he has a speaker. He has a speaker built into the mask. Wait, was I using a pen or the pencil? I think it was the pen. Oops. He has a speaker that alters his voice. So I thought, well, what if the speaker was here and had this kind of, it's not intended to be a cross, but it's just kind of like a, you know, a raised bit of plastic or enamel, not alloy or whatever, that acts like a guard so the speaker can't be harmed. Like if, you know, you like apply pressure to it, it won't damage it. And it just happens to be cross-shaped. So that was an idea that I had. So this is, I think this looks better because in here there'll be like a speaker, and then this will just be the outside, like the plastic kind of, you know, coating, or not coating, but you know, it'll just be the surrounding area, like, and it kind of looks like, well, that one looks like a coffin. But then I had another version I might play with. I'll come back to that. That looks like kind of like an arched window, and I thought that could look cool too. So. God, I hate redesigning washroom signs so they can be woke. Richard says, I started reading the transcripts of Allison's court case. Interesting that they were asking Allison to speak up more loudly. The witness box must be an intimidating place. Yeah. Has anybody thought about a fund in order to hand Allison a gift at the end of the ICMI? Assuming Allison doesn't look at your stream, fingers crossed. As far as I know, nothing has come of it, but I still cringe at the wokeness. Oh, gender-neutral bathroom signs? You're not gonna see that too often, because most small businesses they can't afford that, you know. So that's only gonna happen on like the big giant corporate businesses that can afford it, or the small businesses that are trying to virtue signal to their base. So like, yeah, if you own a small business in like Seattle or something. Oh shit. I gotta make the eraser head a little smaller. This is unworkable. There we go. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's probably not going to happen too often because most people couldn't like, afford it if they own, you know, small businesses. So okay, because this is pouch. Something I don't understand is why are these lines still pixelated even though I'm working in a vector layer? I don't understand. Oh, the school boards here in Canada are going right off the deep end with woke bathroom signs. Oh my god. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. No, you know what? We're gonna do this another way. I'm gonna bring it down to here. Bring that up.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
All right. Here we go. Great. Oh, as far as great indoors, I think that's a good idea. No one's thought of it that I know of. It's the only issue is something that's already going on. I'm wondering, like, what will that be? It's the you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I do think it's a good idea. I won't say anything else because I don't want to watching silently. Okay. Yes, I've been cursed with the pestilence that is Justin Trudeau for the last 4 years. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good idea, great indoors. I'm just, like I said, implementation. It's also a little close, but you know what? We'll do something for her. Somebody subscribe or something? Well, if you did, thank you. I missed it. Do you have any idea what would be a good, suitable gift? I'll think about that. She's a cat person, so there's that. Go. Great Indoor says, gotta go. It's already 19:30 here at work, so 7:30. All right. Well, thanks for the suggestions. I think what Allison just has me thinking Canada's no good for reasonable people. Yeah. Well, it's probably, it's actually probably a consequence of the state of Canada that gave us an Allison and a Karen to begin with, if you think about it. Like people who actually experienced the work camps of in the Soviet Union, or at least are like really close to it in some way, are probably the best people to be able to reveal that. Not to say that Canada is the same as the Soviet Union, but what I'm saying is that somebody who's in a bad place, or a place that has bad policies or whatever, or at least a place that has problems, might be the best people to speak about it. It's like the girl who escaped North Korea and then started going around telling everybody why North Korea is a shithole. Tyranny of the majority, my dude. Tyranny. No, that's why you needed to be a republic and not a fucking democracy. Canada has been dealing with that tyranny of the majority shit for a long time. I mean, it's pretty much a settled deal. Like, once Quebec, I think it's like Quebec and one other place, like once they vote on a prime minister, it's over. Like, if they just, like, that usually determines who the prime minister is going to be. All right. It's the tyranny of the minority with the loudest megaphone and the biggest sticks. Yeah, Quebec and Ontario, thank you. What I can't fathom are the people who leave their shitty countries for better ones, then bring the same bad practices that turn their country into shit with them. Yeah, because they don't think that it's their actual behavior that does it. I think that people forget that governments are not entirely responsible for problems that happen in a country, but the individual decisions made by individual people have long-term, large-scale effects. I'm running a D&D game, and I started this new adventure that I bought called Dead and Fey. It's for 5th edition D&D, and if you're not a D&D nerd, I apologize, because you're probably not going to know what the fuck I'm talking about. But it was called Dead in Fae, or it is called. It is a thing. And it was a new adventure that was part of a larger series of adventures. Oh, hey, Peter Bocant just joined the Thought Patrol. Welcome, Peter. It was part of a larger series of adventures that you can buy through this book called, it's called Tales of the Yawning Portal. And essentially they took a bunch of shorter adventures and put them together in one book. And I thought, well, this is a great bargain. Most of the time they'll do an entire campaign, which is a series of adventures, like all interconnected in a book. And those are fine. I ran the Curse of Strahd, which is essentially a reboot of the Castle Ravenloft module, and which is I never ran that before, and I did have fun, although I think it has some issues. But I was running this adventure, Dead in Fae, and it's about the Red Wizards, and it was this big, giant mega dungeon, and we were all getting really bored. It was a really boring adventure, and I was like, what's wrong with this module? And at first I was thinking that it was the fault of maybe the players. Like, some of the players were being really min-maxy, and so like they were turning the encounters into like these kind of exercises in I want to say they were exercises in frustration and monotony, because every time I'm like, okay, well, you have an encounter, and there were monsters, and then they would, they had this go-to spell, and they would just go to the spell and cast it, and it would always worked. It was really, I would still argue it's kind of broken, but it was so good that they would just do it every time, and eventually, the party was gonna win. And so I never felt like they were in any danger. And I was like, well, what's the issue? And I thought at first, again, I originally blamed them, and I blamed the players, or at least I thought maybe it was their fault. And then I decided, like, because people were getting to the point where they were just really losing interest. Like, my wife was, she plays with us, and she was actually like, I don't know if I want to play this game anymore because I'm getting really bored. And I could understand it. Like, I was getting bored, and I'm like, well, what's the problem? So I did a bit of research. Well, no, first I said, I'm going to take ownership of this. I'm going to try my best to make this as interesting as possible. And I took ownership of it. I said, this is like, I'm going to assume, even though I didn't want to, I'm going to assume this is my fault. And I'm going to try and make this better, because it's my responsibility as game master to make this game fun, right? And so I did. I took it upon myself to try to address the problems in the game. And as a result of that, it put me on a path to do some research and to try to get to the bottom of what the issue was. I thought it was an issue with the system. Like, oh, maybe the system isn't so good, like there's chinks in the armor, problems or whatever. If it was an issue of exploits being too easy, or the game's not balanced or whatever. And then I came to the realization that it was the adventure itself. It was a bad adventure. There weren't a lot of reviews on it, but I found out what the problems with the adventure were. It was actually written for a league play, and league plays, I guess, because I don't do any league play because I don't have time like that. The purpose of league play is essentially you get multiple players to just want to draw that fist well. You get multiple parties to enter the dungeon from different entrances, and then each one has a smaller goal, and then eventually they hopefully come together and they accomplish the larger goal. But for a single party adventure, which is what the average player is going for, that's completely impossible. Like, you can't do that. So why would they make something that was made for multiple adventurers to go through at the same time for a single party? Well, It's because they didn't, like, some fool adapted it and didn't do a good job. So I found out what the problem was. And then once I did, I said, okay, well, I can't very well just pretend like, you know, I can't, like, not do the adventure now, right? Because I've already started it, so I'm kind of committed to this. So I said to myself, okay, I'm gonna change everything. I'm gonna streamline it, and I'm gonna change the challenges, because they actually put really low level challenges in there, and that was the main thing that was boring people, was all the encounters were way too easy, and they didn't provide a challenge. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna alter the challenges so that they're more proportionate. I'm gonna streamline it so it doesn't take forever, and I'm gonna make the NPCs more interesting, because they weren't really fleshed out at all. You know, they were just literally people you rescue, like something out of a video game, and they stick around with for a little while and they leave. There's this game that Capcom made called Magic Sword, I think it was called, and it was like that. You, like, rescue these characters, and they join your party, but they acted like AI options, like something from, I don't know if you guys remember the game Magic Sword, but it was pretty cool. And anyway, so I took responsibility. That's my point, right? I took responsibility, and I tried to address the issues myself. And lo and behold, I figured it out. And the last time we played, which was on Saturday, I get to play maybe once a month. It was a good time. I had it figured out. It was very exciting, you know, and dramatic. And I added to it, and you know, ultimately, what I'm getting at is, like, there's a point to this. There's a point to what I'm saying. Because I took responsibility, and I said, okay, if this isn't fun, it's gotta be, it might be the fault of other things outside of my control, but what is in my control? What can I change? Because if I don't actually try to address things that I actually have control over, then I'm helping, right? I'm not doing that. So I addressed it, and I feel a lot better about it. The game was a lot of fun, as I said. I don't know what this is. I'm just putting stuff on here. This weapon turns into various things, and so this is why I made the tonfas like that. Yeah, and it turned out to be a really good adventure. Like, an NPC died, and I gave the NPCs personalities. I gave the villains personalities. I, like, went in depth into it, you know, and so the players really felt like they weren't just mindlessly going through a video game dungeon, which is how they wrote it. And the thing is that responsibility for that, because I don't usually have a lot of time to do, like, a great deal of preparation, and I usually, like, rely on the adventure a bit to, like, help me with some of that work, so that it's, you know, it's not all on me. And so, because I had just run a couple of really great adventures that actually did that, they were really good on giving me enough info to, you know, give me, like, the basis for what, how do I put it? They gave me enough of enough, like, lore and character that I was able to use that to make the adventure interesting and fun. Because of that, I think I was a bit spoiled, I guess you could say. So when it came time for me to run this one, I was expecting the same, and I didn't have it, and so it was, like, really boring, and it almost, you know, caused everyone to just quit, because we were all losing interest. And then I told them, you know, on Saturday, I was like, I figured out the problem, guys. I think the game is going to be good now. And sure enough, it was. And yeah, it was the fault of the adventure, because it was badly written. Like, they were trying to, like, and I don't know if you guys are D&D, you know, vets, so I apologize if you don't know what I'm talking about. but they were trying to recapture what they thought was what made adventures like Undermountain and the Tomb of Horrors great. But they just missed the mark, man. They really missed the mark. Because I love Tomb of Horrors, and I don't think Undermountain's alright, but I don't think it's like something that you could just run as a dungeon. It's more like something you run as a campaign, and people have to keep revisiting it, almost like the dungeon in the game Wizardry. You guys ever played Wizardry? It's kind of like that, where there's like one big mega dungeon, and you have to go back to accomplish multiple goals. Think of it like I don't know, like if there's an equivalent on like Dark Souls, where you might have to revisit, a specific area to accomplish a goal for an NPC and then come back. I mean, that was what, to me, Undermountain was, but... Okay, but anyway. So yeah, it was a good time, and now the players... This is what's great. Whereas before, the players thought they were just in a dungeon, killing everything in their path, in the hopes that they'll find the room that where the goal is at. Now they know what their goal is, because I've made it clear to them, because I streamlined the pacing, and and I also thrust them into the unknown, and I've changed the challenges so they're much tougher now, because the players are tough enough, they can handle it. So I think it worked out in many levels, and I think that started with me taking responsibility, like basically becoming accountable for what I do. So I don't know, you guys are like role players though. I could tell you like role-playing game stories, like, because I ran games for many years, and have a good deal of experience, many years of experience running all kinds of games, and I have lots of opinions on tabletop role-playing. Hot opinions, I guess. But yeah, so now it's good. In 2 weeks we're gonna meet back up, and I think everyone's very excited, and the whole mood has changed, So I'm excited, and I'm glad, because I kind of want to get this over with, because I have something planned for them after this that I think is gonna be quite fun. Oops, shit! I actually hit the window button. Sorry about that. Oh, snap. An NPC died, yeah. Well, a player character almost died too. That was like, a player character was dying. Like, literally dying, because, well, I can tell, if you guys want to hear it, I'll tell you, like, exactly what happened in this one fight. But, a player character was dying, and an NPC died. And, oh no, 2 of them died, because they were going to rescue a guy, and the person they were going to rescue died. So yeah, dark. The shit got dark. Alright. Let's see here. This looks good. Right? Alright, let me see what you guys are saying before I move on. I'm gonna save here. Save it. I'm watching a video of a guy attempting to cross a whole country in a straight line. Quite funny. Wow. The thing is, what's wrong with calling a unisex bathroom simply a bathroom instead of calling it a gender-neutral bathroom or inclusive bathroom? Jesus Christ. That's called virtue signaling. Can't win the Prussian Olympics without amassing lots of points. Yep. The class is listening quietly to Professor Brian's story. Brian is telling a story. You killed an NPC. Oops, sorry. Well, you know, I try not to think of it in terms of like what's right or wrong. I just said, okay, well, this happens, and here's another thing too. The NPC was a fighter. It wasn't like a completely you know, useless person. Like they weren't schlubs. They were adventurers too, and they rescued them inside of this labyrinth. But it's called the Doom Vault. It's basically like a big you know, wizard dungeon that wizards made. But the thing is, though, the players they gave her the minimum amount of help. So they were like, well, here's a sword, and here's some like armor nobody wants, because she didn't have anything when they found her. And, you know, they didn't really like check to see if she needed healing and all that. So when she died, it wasn't really a surprise, and she was beginning to suspect that they didn't care about her anyway. And so now I think the players are going to think of things differently. You know, they're going to really consider them like player characters, because she did die helping. So that's the thing that's kind of funny about it. Okay, so Ergo Proxy says, did you submit your updated fun version of that scenario? No, I'm not submitting shit. I didn't like go in and rewrite the whole adventure. I just like decided to streamline the content so that like things move faster. And the only thing I did was I just changed how I inform the players about what their goals are, so that they themselves wouldn't, you know, be like, well, we're gonna go into every single room. And I also made the encounters tougher so that they wouldn't think they could go through every single room. They actually had to consider like, okay, how many resources do we have? We better like, you know, be efficient, essentially. Ken was one of those kids. NPC lives matter. Hashtag no they don't. Kind of like in the show Grimgar, they go around killing low-level goblins and end up having the party leader die. Oh yeah. Yeah, so let me just draw this little fist here. But that's kind of like, that's what I guess what I'm getting at is that, you know, there's a saying that Gandalf says this thing in the Hobbit movie, and I know that a lot of people didn't like the Hobbit. I like the Hobbit. I think the Lord of the Rings is better, but I still like the Hobbit. Where I think it's Galadriel and Gandalf are talking, and Galadriel asks Gandalf, why do you know, why the Hobbit, right? Like, why would you bring Bilbo on this adventure? And Gandalf says, you know, Saruman believes that it's great power that can change the world, right? And then Gandalf says, but I don't agree with that. I think it's the little things. And when he says the little things, people think he's saying it's hobbits, but hobbits represent, in Tolkien's world, I think, the kind of like people that you would think of as the least important to society, the blue collar person, the average the commoner, right? And they represent the goodness in regular folks. And he basically talks about like their kindness in a kind of like, and he's not necessarily saying that men aren't capable of it. I mean, I think Tolkien was trying to speak about, I think Tolkien was trying to speak out the human condition in some way, but what ultimately what he's getting at is that it's not a top-down approach. If you want to change everything, you can't do it that way, right? That's what those books are all about, I think. Like, you know how there is like this idea that the Ring of Power represents the state. This is like a you know, a thing that it's been compared to philosophically. And so it's like ultimate authority, right? Because that it's one ring to rule them all. And so the one ring represents the state, like it's like everything, all it's absolute power. And so the temptation to use it, even to do good, is there. But the problem is that inevitably it corrupts everything. That's what they're, I mean, you know, the saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely. But that's what Gandalf is talking about. This is why the hobbits are resilient, but it gets to them eventually as well. You know, it just takes longer. And I mean, there's a lore reason for it. But the main point that Tolkien was talking about is that top-down solutions to problems are dangerous because they invite corruption. People will kill each other to get that power. You know, they'll turn on each other, just like Frodo did to Sam. Just like Gollum did to his friend. I think his name was... It was sounding like Smeagol, but it was something else. And he, like, choked him to death, right? And so, Tolkien doesn't believe in a top-down thing. So, I said all that to say that this is the reason why when progressives talk about solutions, it's always from a top-down perspective, right? They always think that if they always see things in terms of power. And they always see things in terms of, if I had power, you know, here's the good I would do. But you always have this sense that there's something really sinister about their intentions. Even if they don't have bad intentions. You know, you're certain that they will do like immense harm to people because they see things in terms of power. You know, when Christy Winters talks about how all the people who have power in government are men, and so therefore they would use that power only to benefit men and to oppress women. So that means that women should have power instead. And then when you say, well, are you then suggesting that the reason why women should have power is because they would then use it to benefit women and to oppress men, since that's what men are doing to women right now? And of course she won't answer that, because she'd have to make peace with that idea that if you believe that men have only used power to oppress women and that women should then have power, you also have to believe that women should use that power to oppress men. And that they would. I don't know. You know, it's just, it's a scary thought when you think about how, you know, feminists view power, and leftists in general, they are scary. And they have a lot of rage in them. You know, I know that he's just one example, but I was listening to a Vosh stream because it is good to listen to what the opposition are talking about. And that guy has a lot of anger in him. A lot. You know, even if he himself said, I'm just a hyperbolic guy, that's scary, dude. Like, I think that he, like, I just get a murderous feeling from him, you know? I mean, he jokes about, well, we should, you know, we should kill these people in Minecraft. That's how he jokes about it. But that only tells me that, you know, he wants his enemies to go away by any means necessary. And I think that that's not a sentiment that's exclusive to him at all, by any stretch. I think that's actually quite normal. Okay. So, let's see what you guys are saying. Grimgar, the original Goblin Slayer. They can't stop talking about power. Sometime in September. That's the Area 51 purge. Thoughts can be scary. They deserve nothing more than contempt and scorn. IRL PvP. Yeah, really. PvP me in IRL, faggot. Anyway. Sorry the dogs are barking. It's not oppression when feminists do it. It's justice being defined as getting revenge on men in the present for what men have done in the past. Yes. Yes, it is. Quiet, Jojo. Hi, babe. You okay? Oh, it's raining? Alright, I gotta wrap this up, guys. But let me know what you think about the suit. I'm gonna like go ahead and zoom out here and take a look at it. Huh? You did some running? Alright, let's take a look at this now. And I'll remove the lines underneath. Yeah, I like that. That looks good. Cleaning it up here. Okay. We got that. There we go. So, I'm almost done with this. This looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna save where it is. One day the 40-year-old virgin will be a documentary. It's not a. I think it is for some guys. Unfortunately, it already is. So let me save where I'm at. Yep, I'm good. So I want to thank you guys for coming on the Comics Gate art stream. I have to wrap this up. Please, what I'm seeing looks fine. Thank you. Please give this video a like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, and leave me a comment. With that said, I'm going to go. We're probably going to do a fundraising stream later today. I was going to have on Eric Anderson for a fireside chat, but he just emailed me saying he can't make it. Professor, I think he's just Professor Eric Anderson, I'm not sure. He is a man that talks about masculinities, and I'll talk to him later in the week, maybe Wednesday or Friday. So I will coordinate with him. Otherwise, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for coming on. And yeah, have a good one.